Hi everyone, I'm Michael from Messenger Bag Media, and today we're going to be showing you how to balance a gimbal, specifically the DJI Ronin RS3. We're making this video because when we first got our gimbal, we found it very difficult to follow along with the instructions that came from DJI. It kept using certain terminology and it was just going, honestly, way too fast. We're going to break it down so that it's super easy to follow along and you'll understand how and why you're balancing the certain parts of your gimbal. Let's get to it. Okay, so to get started, we're going to assemble our gimbal. Now we're going to attach from the area here, this little piece onto the bottom of the camera. Align it properly, close that. And before we put that on the camera, we are going to attach this plate here onto the gimbal. And you can use this little knob right here to do slight adjustments back and forth, which to be honest is actually like my favorite thing about this gimbal, and I wish and I don't understand why it's not on every other piece, but you can do this to go back and forth. I sort of get it to around the area I know. Then you're going to lock this in right here. So we're going to take the camera and then we're going to attach it. And then you're going to flick this lock and get it locked into place. So now everything is securely attached and locked on the gimbal, but now we have to properly balance everything. Just for reference, this is a Canon R6 Mark II with a 15 to 35 millimeter lens at f2.8. Okay, so now that the gimbal is actually properly assembled, let's get to balancing it. So one of the first things that you're going to do is you're going to have to balance, theoretically you might have to balance this arm right here. So you can just unlock this and you can move this back and forth with just, a little push or a little shove. Again, once you adjust this once, you should be good, this bottom arm right here. Next up, we've got the most finicky and annoying part, and to be honest, I wish that this is something that they will improve on a future version of this gimbal, is we've got to work with this arm now, this arm right here. So what we're going to do to be able to adjust this arm is you see this sort of red line, RS3, and then it points auto lock. And then right now there's the unlocked and then the locked state. So that is currently in the locked state, and we're going to flip it to unlocked, and you're going to see, whoa, camera totally not balanced. That is totally nuts. You will want to, when you flip it from the unlocked state and from the locked state into the unlocked state, actually hold on to the camera. Again, I was sort of purposefully showing that for effect, but again, if I flip it unlocked, it then you can tell is absolutely not balanced. So what we need to do is come to this locked, unlocked section here, and we're going to flip it into unlocked, which allows us to adjust this arm right here. And the way that we're going to go about that as easily as possible is we're going to sort of hold it flat, and then we're going to push back and forth to the exact place and sort of hope that we've done it. Sometimes you then have to flip it into locked, come back to here and see, okay, well, compared to where we were before, that camera was moving in this direction or that direction. So that's balanced right in the middle. So actually pretty lucky that we got it there. If you just try and adjust it up here and you just try and go like this, it's like a nightmare to try and do. You're fighting against gravity. So I would highly recommend, again, flip it to the side, move it back and forth that way, flip it into the locked position, verify that it's balanced sort of right in the center. It's not tilting this way automatically. It's not tilting that way automatically. The weight of the camera is perfectly distributed. So now we're going to take this auto lock here again, and we're going to flip that back into the locked position, make sure that we are now locked. Perfect. And then we're coming to our next arm here. So this arm we just adjusted, but on here we've got an auto lock that adjusts the camera balance right here. So as we can see, that is not balanced at all once I flip it into the unlocked state. So what I'm going to do, what we're trying to do is get it to be balanced here perfectly without it moving back and forth. So how do we accomplish that? The way that we do that is with this side right here. So on the sort of base plate for it, we can adjust this forward and backwards. So there's 0 to 10 here, and we've got a nice actual knob that is very easy for adjusting everything back and forth. So I'm going to flip this to the unlocked position, and then I'm going to adjust it, and you're gonna sort of see where you find that area where the camera is actually balanced. And again, these are very, very slight movements. So that looks too much. You see, it's just so slight where you're balancing the camera like that. The one thing I will say is when you flip it back to the locked state, sometimes it'll actually tip it too much. So you might have to adjust again after the fact. But in this case, we're pretty spot on. When it comes to adjusting this, arm or side of the gimbal here, you'll also want to have properly decided on the focal length of your camera lens here as you're balancing for the weight distribution. So again, if I flip this out to 15, you can see that the camera is extending, and now, oh, we're not balanced anymore. But if I go back to 35, there we are. Now that we have the camera perfectly balanced like this, the other way that we need to test it, aside from it resting here perfectly and not moving one way or the other, is we need it to go this way and not be flipping in one direction or another, and we need it to go this way and not be flipping. Again, if it's not properly balanced, it will lean one way or the other or swing one way or the other, but this now is properly and perfectly balanced. So with that, we're going to move this back in this direction and flip it into the locked position. And there we go. And then we're going to come back to this very front arm here, and we're going to flip this into the unlocked position and move everything back into its compact state. Flip lock, and now we're ready to actually have the gimbal itself do some calibration and balancing when we turn it on. So let's turn it on here with the power button on the side. You'll notice that the gimbal obviously sort of unfurls itself and is ready to go. So the first thing that you're going to want to do with the gimbal on a flat, secure surface is you're going to press this little button on screen right here for gimbal calibration. So I'm going to pull that up, and then I'm going to press Start Calibration. And there you go, gimbal calibration complete. It does make some funky noises, don't be worried. But again, you want to do that after you've properly done the, perfect balancing that you did with the actual weight of the gimbal. If you were to just slap your camera on and then press that calibration, it can do it, but it will be working the motors far harder. What you want to be doing is sort of making this as easy as possible for the gimbal to be giving you that smooth footage. You can also tell that everything is good because we've got this nice green icon here for the camera. That means that it's properly balanced. It's not having to work overly hard with the balance or the motors here. And now I'm just going to pick this up and move things around. So you'll see if I move, this green does not change. It remains green, which means that I have really properly balanced this well. If that turned yellow or even red, that's an indication that the motors are working too hard, the gimbal is not properly balanced, and that's something that you'll want to rectify. When you want the gimbal to go back to the perfectly facing forward direction, there's a little trigger button on the back here, and a quick double tap brings it back forward. If I move with the joystick away and I want to get it right back to center, I just double tap that trigger on the back, and there it goes. If you want to leave it in this sort of locked position, just press the power button on the side right here once, and then you'll see it says locking, locked. And then what you end up with is a little moon icon on the screen here, which tells you that the gimbal is locked. So if I move it around, it is locked in place, and those little auto lock icons that we were working with earlier are in the locked position. If I press to get out of this, sort of locked mode here, just press the power button one more time. It says unlocked. We can see the auto locks have gone into the unlocked position, and now the gimbal follows us the way that we were working it before. When you're ready to fully power things off, or you're just in between, any sort of shots and you want to fully power it off and put everything back into that sort of compact position, just hold down the power button. Everything compacts up, screen goes off, and now the gimbal is powered down. And at that point, when you're ready to take your camera off, all you do is flick this one adjustment right here, push this tiny gray button in, slide your camera out. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you want to see us do more content about gimbals, let us know in the comments below. And check out these other videos right here. If you're enjoying our channel, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.